Dr. Rowley said violence is becoming too prevalent, and as a result, the public is becoming too desensitized to the issue. This is what he had to say.
And today, the time has come for us to declare violence as a public health emergency.
The US Surgent General just declared that gun violence is a public health crisis in America. He cited numbers showing that gun violence is now the leading cause of death among teens and kids. This is nationwide, and as we shared with you just last night at 5, right here in the Bay Area, with law enforcement and the Hillsborough State Attorney working to expand and do more to also end gun violence. Here's Natalie Brand.
With too many summer weekends ending with a staggering tally of shootings across the U.S., the nation's top doctor, Vivek Murthy, says enough is enough.
Gun violence is a public health crisis in our country that requires a public health solution.
The Surgeon General is making this first-of-its-kind declaration with firearms now the leading cause of death in children and teens, while more than half of adults say they or a family member have experienced a gun-related incident. Following the massacre at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, that killed 19 children and 2 adults in 2022, Congress passed bipartisan gun safety legislation, the first major federal bill to address the issue in 30 years. But since then, additional measures have stalled in a divided Congress. Dr. Murthy says it's time to take the issue out of politics.
The good news is there's a lot we can do. There are, for example, community violence intervention programs that we can invest in. There are safe storage education programs that we can expand. There are firearm risk reduction strategies like background checks.
And gun violence is taking a toll on the nation's mental health, according to the Surgeon General, with nearly 80% of adults saying they stress about the possibility of a mass shooting, and half of the country's children worried about a shooting in their school. He's also calling for doctors to promote gun safety education during regular visits.
The Surgeon General just declared firearm violence a public health crisis. You're probably watching this thinking, okay, but will anything actually happen this time? A Fox News poll from last year. He recommended mandatory universal background checks. When Fox News asked Americans if we should require criminal background checks on all gun buyers, 87% agreed. He recommended measures that put space between firearms and people that are at risk of hurting themselves or others. When Fox News asked Americans if we should require mental health checks on gun buyers, 80% agreed. 80% also agreed police should be able to take guns from those considered a danger to themselves or others. He recommended a civilian ban on assault weapons. When Fox News asked Americans if we should ban assault rifles and semi-automatic weapons, 61% agreed. Gun control advocates and the Surgeon General hope that by framing this as a public health crisis, this uniquely American phenomenon will finally be addressed.
Dr. Rowley said violence is becoming too prevalent, and as a result, the public is becoming too desensitized to the issue. This is what he had to say.
And today, the time has come for us to declare violence as a public health emergency. I think in Trinidad and Tobago, the time has come for us to declare violence as a public health emergency.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley made the announcement minutes after police responded to a quadruple murder at Damien Bay in Maracas on Saturday afternoon. The victims, who hail from Santa Cruz, have been identified as Karen Pope, Elijah Farrell, CJ Dan and Mincy Boy. Hours earlier, on Saturday morning, 3 suspects were murdered following a police shootout in Port of Spain. 2 others are in critical condition. Dr. Rowley said we need to find solutions to treating with violence in our population.
In the home, in the school, on the roadway, public safety and public security, unfortunately, has pushed itself up to, it is number 2, because we still maintain that educating our population is number 1 from the standpoint of budgetary allocation. But from the standpoint of national unease, I would say that this violence, which is a public health emergency, has pushed itself up to the number 1 concern in our country.
According to Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley did not declare crime as a public health emergency. Responding to an urgent question in the upper house by the opposition. The minister sought to clear the air on the Prime Minister's statement while he addressed the public during a media conference before leaving for Suriname.
But the Prime Minister made no such declaration. I listened to the Prime Minister's communication with the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the world, which is recorded.
Time has come for us to declare violence as a public health emergency. Time has come for us to declare violence as a public health emergency.
The Prime Minister made no such declaration.
I simply want to warn the population that half of the people who are offering you solutions to fighting our criminal scourge and curse, to fighting our criminal scourge and curse, are themselves contributors to the problem. The people of this country are quite correctly holding this government accountable to secure the country and to make you feel safe. You're losing the war against the criminal element. You're losing the war against the criminal element. But you hold the government accountable, and the government must be held accountable. But you hold the government accountable, and the government must be held accountable. The country is awash in blood. There isn't a news item in this country where there isn't a good chance that a major part of the news is who killed who. We're taking the advice from you, the people. And when you have had enough of what we have done, you know exactly what to do. You know what to do. The country is awash in blood. There isn't a news item in this country where there isn't a good chance that a major part of the news is who killed who. We're taking the advice from you, the people.
Use it well before it's too late.